in Israeli Hebrew, or the Hebrew that we use over here. Aliyah Karka is the date that you use as the date to talk about the establishment of the community. But it's an interesting word to use, Aliyah Karka. It's the same word that you use obviously when you go to take out a Sefer Torah, Aliyah Torah. It's the same word you use, by the way, when you talk about going to Jerusalem. You always talk about Lalot Yerushalayim. And there is something very special. It's not the word we use when we come and live over here, Aliyah. And I think this notion of Aliyah Karka says something about the understanding that we have about the recreation of an independent Jewish state for the Jewish people that begins in 1948 when we declare our state over here. I always say, by the way, when I'm guiding people in Israel, you cannot understand this country if you relate to 1948 as the foundation date of the country. Even though that's the date that the modern state is declared, you can't understand who we are and how we respond to things. There's a little Bedouin boy on a donkey behind me. Can't compete with children and animals. It's one of the first rules in education. But you can't understand this place unless you realize that there is a much deeper history. And the people who founded my kibbutz, by the way, unusually my kibbutz is founded by two groups of people, by Palmach veterans who stay after they've been fighting in this area. They stay and found the kibbutz over here, and very, very soon afterwards South Africans. So my kibbutz has two founding groups, Palmach veterans, Palmach Plugot Machatz, the lightning troops or the commando units of what becomes the early IDF, or the founders of this place, together with South Africans. It makes a huge difference, by the way, having a kibbutz founded by two groups of people with very different backgrounds, and it impacts on who we are greatly over the years. We are founded up over here and not down in the valley below where we live today, because part of the rationale for us being created over here, for Harel, where we were just so beautifully hosted, being created where it is created, is that we are created to hold the road to Jerusalem. And in some way, when I walk around the kibbutz and I still see some of the old folks from the Palmach days who are now very elderly, I always say to young people who come, you need to know something, they weren't always this old. People in their 80s were not always in their 80s. Just remember who they were when they helped found this country all those years ago. But the Jews who found Tzorah, just like the Jews who found Harel and all the other Yeshuvim, the settlements around the country, and I use settlements not in the way that it's used today in some parts of the world, but the people who came to settle the land and create this country were a particular, I think, a new iteration of what it means to be a Jew. Having said that, I have something that I brought with me. By total chance, a few days ago, I was in my office and somebody told me that her boyfriend had come back with his family from doing something similar to what Yuval said that he did with his mother recently. Went on holiday, right? Yuval went on holiday to Poland. And he decided to bring back a gift for his girlfriend who works in my office. And he decided to bring a little wooden carving. And this is the carving that he brought back. This is a carving that I'm going to show you now that I'm holding in my hand. And it's produced now in Poland today, and it's called the Jew. Yeah. I want you to see what it looks like. So this is the carving that was done recently in Poland. If you look closely, you can hand it around in a moment, you'll see that the Jew has something in his hand. This was done in 2016. This was bought in Warsaw.
Money in the nose.
Just look at the Jew. In 2016, this is produced in Warsaw. And Mallel the nose, because some of us, as they say, what can you do? Some of us look like this. But the Jew holding this coin, this golden coin in his hand, I think is particularly, for me in many ways, particularly painful thing to actually see. When you see, who we are still being sold as in the shuk. This, by the way, it costs, if you want to buy it, 42 zloty. And it was, I didn't know originally what the words were in Polish, but I did recognize Żyd, but the other two I didn't recognize, so I got it translated by somebody from Poland, basically it's wooden model of a Jew. And when I think of the elderly people on my kibbutz who helped found the kibbutz down below, and what they have done and the way they live their lives so different from the stereotype that is still being created in 2016. I have to say I thought that I would bring him over here just to, as part of the opening piece over here, because I think what we are going to do in the next 5 days is not only have a look at stereotypes, we're going to look at how they were created. We're also going to look at how false they always are. Because the one thing we can be sure about stereotypes, whoever's doing the stereotyping, we know the stereotypes are always going to be false. There is no such thing as all Jews are, just as there's no such thing as all Bedouin are. I'm just thinking of the little Bedouin boy who came past. We have a Bedouin family who lives just down the road from us on Sorah, just down the road. His name is Salame. He has been working with our kibbutz long before I arrived. Every one of his children is a university graduate from an Israeli university. Try and explain to people who see Bedouin as having a particular typology when you introduce them to Salame's children that they all have higher degrees from Israeli universities, and try and work with the stereotypes there.
הם גרים באוהלים שם אצלך?
נכון. No, they still just be on the road, נכון. Just beyond us, you're both right, just beyond us, they live still live in...
יש לו טלפון חכם, טלוויזיה, מכונית והכל, אבל הוא ישן
Salame worked with me in the dairy. I was a dairy, I milked cows for 10 years. He worked with us in the dairy. He's an excellent guy, and he doesn't fit any of the stereotypes. He's a highly intelligent man who happens to have a Bedouin lifestyle.
But then at the same time, you wonder about the schooling of a child when it's 11.